Hello everyone and welcome back to the most awaited game of this tournament. It is of course former world champion Viswanathan Anand versus former world champion Garry Kasparov. And before we check out the game, there's a very nice photo that Douglas Griffin posted on Twitter that happened 30 years ago. This is the photo. There you have it, Anand versus Kasparov. Also Anand with the white pieces against Kasparov. It was the 12th round of the Tilburg tournament in the 1st of November 1991, and this was their encounter in round 12. Anand defeated Kasparov, but even with that loss, Kasparov was able to win first place in the event. So really an awesome one, and it's nice to see that 30 years from this photo here in 2021, the two of them still face off over the board, and in none other than the Najdorf Sicilian. So without further ado, let's check it out as Anand opens with e4. And if you're wondering how their encounters went up until this point, well, Kasparov actually has a pretty big lead. In the classical time format, Kasparov actually has 17 wins to Vichy's 4 with 31 draw. And in rapid, Kasparov also beat Anand with a score of 9-4 with 15 draws. So now it's not much, but Vichy definitely has a chance to lower the lead as he does have the white pieces here. And let's see what happens. So e4, we already said it's going to be a nice Sicilian defense. So c5, and we're going to be following the game that Kasparov already played in round 1 against Van Voorhis, and it's going to be a really awesome one. So knight to f3, we have d6, and now d4, striking in the center, captures, knight to f6, knight to c3, and again Kasparov goes for his Najdorf Sicilian. We have bishop to g5 and e6 now. We have f4, same as in round 1, queen to c7, and now bishop captures on f6. We said that queen to f3 is also very much played, but bishop captures on f6 seems to be the preferred version for the blitz. G captures on f6, and only now queen to f3. We have b5 by Kasparov, preparing to fianchetto to the light square bishop, and now a3, opting for the same choice that Van Voorhis did, and now knight to c6. And here, if you remember, in round 1, knight captures on c6 was played, but here Anand just castles queenside. So Kasparov trades off a pair of knights on d4, we have knight captures on d4, rook captures, and now queen to c5, activating the queen to a much more active square with tempo, attacking the rook here, and then later on you're probably going to play some like rook to b8, you're going to try and push b4 and try and attack the white king. So Anand doesn't go for queen to d1, which is a known move here that simply defends the rook. Anand brings the rook back to d3, and it is now, as of move 13, that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Garry continues this game. Rook to b8. If Anand allows b4, then it's going to be a very nice game for black. So of course Anand plays b4 himself, and now queen back to a7. Now you want to play a5, bust open the position here, and then try to create some sort of an attack against the white king. And Kasparov is already very much down on the clock. Anand spent basically no time here. He still has 5 minutes on the clock, whereas Kasparov is down to 3 minutes on the clock. And Anand plays f5. And here I think Kasparov already had some bad feelings, because this is much like in game 1, things didn't go really well for him, and now he doesn't bother with the h5 move like he did in round 1, which is a very useful move in such lines, but he goes straight for the attack. He plays a5, and now Anand, again, not rushing with anything, there's no reason to push for the immediate attack, goes knight to a2, which is very nice, because now if Kasparov tries to open up the position here, you're just going to recapture with the knight, and the queen and rook both now help out with the defense of the third rank, so you're not breaking through here anytime soon. So instead, Kasparov has to continue development. There's still the bishop, and well, they're still not not fully operational. So bishop to e7, and now bishop to e2. Anand now prepares to bring this rook to d1. We have h5 now by Kasparov, and king to b1. So getting the king away from the c file, and now bishop to d7. So the bishops have been developed, and now it's Garry to continue his attack on the queen side. Anand just puts another rook on the d file, rook h to d1, now with a lot of pressure on the d file. And here, as Anand did not play h4, Kasparov grabs more space on the king side with h4. And now Anand also could go for some ideas like Van Voorhis did in game 1, with some like queen g4, queen to g7. but here he just captures on a5, and it's a very interesting move because not something you usually want to do, just allow your opponent to bust open your position in front of the king, but here it really works out very nicely for him. So queen captures on a5 by Garry, and now knight to b4, and with this capture you've basically eliminated all of black's counterplay here, because you're never capturing here, you can't push the b pawn, and the bishops don't really have a lot of option here to you know, bust open the position, and black was not able to play d5 in this game, and you know what we say about when you play the Sicilian and if you manage to get the d5 move in. So here Kasparov transfers the game to the c file, we have rook to c8, and now queen to g4. Now Vishy wants to go queen to g7, so king to f8 preventing this, and now f captures on e6. We have bishop captures on e6, now attacking the queen, and queen back to f3. And here Kasparov played just rook to c5, and now the problem for Kasparov is that Anand has some 3 minutes on the clock, whereas Garry has only about 15 seconds on the clock. And here Anand played queen to e3, probably playing against Kasparov's clock. If he were to invest a bit more time, he would probably go for a really flashy rook captures on d6, because it really offers white a lot of play. But then again, you will give black some counterplay. The problem is, for example, if the bishop is well, if you play bishop captures rook, then you're going to play queen captures on f6, now attacking the rook, and also the bishop is still hanging, and now you don't really have a good move. If you move the rook, you're just going to play rook captures on d6, and now this is being threatened, and it's just a very ugly position for black to play. But black could ignore this and play something like queen captures on a3, and there are a lot of complications in this position. So even if you capture the rook here, for example, queen captures king to e7, it's still a very maybe ugly position for white to face in a blitz game. But okay, after rook to c5, probably Anand was playing on Kasparov's clock. He played queen to e3, and now Kasparov plays f5. He has to activate his pieces. He plays f5. He wants to bring the bishop to f6 to grab hold of this diagonal, and now again Anand playing on Garry's time doesn't go for this rook captures on d6. Again, it's a really an interesting move, because after this is played, it's just a much superior position for white, but he goes for the calm bishop to f3, and now Kasparov has to play. He's very low on the clock, and now he has to play bishop to f6. He has to grab hold of this diagonal, and then the game just continues. If Anand captures here, then bishop captures. His bishops are now more than fully operational, but here Kasparov actually played f captures on e4, and now Anand played bishop captures on e4. We have rook to c4, and now bishop to d5, going for an attack on the bishop and on the rook. And what do you play here? Well, best for black is probably to just ignore this and still bring the bishop over to f6, and this is exactly what Garry does. He plays bishop to f6, and now he gives up the rook on c4. So bishop captures, we have b captures on c4, attacking Anand's rook here, and Anand just played rook captures on d6, and it was in this position on move 30 that Garry Kasparov lost on time, as there was no more time left on his clock. So it's a pretty crazy position. Kasparov now does have the active queen, the two bishops really going after Anand's king. The rook can maybe be activated somehow, but it's a really tricky position, and well, he simply didn't have time to calculate everything and to continue playing this. And it would seem that blitz is a bit too fast for him now. Maybe he'd have a more fun playing in the rapids, but I guess he chose blitz for a reason. And here you could continue this with king to g7. The game continues, and it might be a very active game, but you know, who are we to know such things? But then white can play rook to a6, attack black's queen, and now black's attack is basically over. You have to move the queen now. There's no more attack happening here after you move the queen. Even g4, and it's actually white who's attacking. If h captures, the queen will capture with check, and it's well, it's a very enjoyable position. I have no doubt Kasparov would enjoy playing this with the black pieces, having such a wonderful bishop pair and everything. But like I said, on rook captures on d6, he lost on time, and for the moment not doing all that great in the tournament. 3 losses and 1 draw against Alexander Grishuk. So Vishy lowers the lead, and who knows how many times they will face each other again to lower maybe the lead even further. But we'll see how it goes. Great victory for Vishy, and great attacking game all in all. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Kevin Keith, Robert Aratun, and Jem, Al Boyd, and CruzAdria.com for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this very nice tournament, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.